All right. And we'll get started. You can go ahead and toss those intros into chat, and I'm going to go ahead and get us started. Let's shift this little box out of the way. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at courses. So this is actually, it's one of the topics we get asked about a lot. So I'm really excited to be talking about this with all of you. I'm pretty certain you all have CodeHS accounts. If you do not, please head out to codehs.com/sign-up to create a free educator account. You do not need to have that educator account to join in this webinar today, but definitely take advantage and join with, create an account if you don't have one. codehs.com/sign-up. Let us know if you have any trouble with that, and we can certainly help you out. I think these names are looking pretty familiar. So I think you all have accounts, but if you don't, go ahead and do that. Like I said, you won't need that today. We're going to be going through course catalog and doing some chatting about choosing the right course. So our agenda for this really fast workshop webinar is, first, we're going to take a look at just thinking about what are our course goals? What kind of goals do you have for the course that you're setting up for your students? And then we're going to do a CodeHS course overview. We're going to look at it from a couple of different angles. We'll look at course overviews by topics, and then we're going to jump in and take a look at some possible pathways. I think sometimes that's a little bit tough to wrap our heads around. And I know as computer science teachers, sometimes we feel like we are definitely on an island when we're thinking about course pathways. We might be the only computer science teacher in our school. I know that was definitely the case for me. And so a lot falls on our shoulders for that. And then we'll take just a quick look at some state pathways. A lot of your states might have some courses that we've created specifically for your state that address your standards. And then we'll take a look at that course catalog and hopefully give you some of those tools that you need to really navigate that a little more easily. So as we're getting started today, we're not even going to really set foot in the course catalog to get started. But you do have the link here, codehs.com/course/catalog. You know, I was mentioning just as we were getting started that this is a question we get a lot. Because if you take a look at our course catalog, you'll see there's a lot of courses here. And often we'll get teachers who say, all right, Lori, I don't know which course to start with. Where should I start with my students? And that's a great question. I know I've started using CodeHS in 2014, and there were considerably less courses back then. And I started with Intro to CS in JavaScript. And now I know if I was a new teacher, I'd be overwhelmed at this. So many courses. This is a mere handful of the courses that we have. There's that Intro to Computer Science in JavaScript up there, one of our flagship courses, but so many have been added since then. I'd love to know what are some of the courses you are teaching or are thinking about teaching. What do you have in mind for this year or are thinking about? If you'd like to toss any of that into chat. If you're not sure, if you're saying, hey, Lori, that's why I'm here, I need some guidance, you can add that to chat too. But if you have an idea of some stuff you might want to teach, go ahead and toss that into chat. All right, so lots of courses. We're going to try to figure out how we can narrow that down. Oh, cool, Cheryl, C#. I am a big fan of the C courses, so hopefully we can find some things that might help you out in getting to that goal. All right, so as we're thinking about all of those CodeHS courses that we could possibly teach, what we really want to start with, what's most important for us is to really think about what's the goals that we might have in mind for our courses. So first of all, you know, some of the goals we might be thinking about is your course maybe going to be an introductory computer science course? Are you going to be teaching maybe to freshmen, or is this the first time that your middle school students will be experiencing computer science? Is this going to be a pretty basic introductory course? Maybe one of your goals for the course that you're going to be teaching or courses is that you want to focus on programming. Maybe you really want to teach Python, and that's going to be your focus for this course. Maybe you want to be JavaScript, or Maybe you want to prep students to feel like they're going to be prepared or want to take an APCSA type of Java course, more advanced course. So what's the focus? Maybe it's going to be cybersecurity, and there's a lot of different options for all of these. Maybe you want an exposure to a variety of different CS topics. So it might be sort of an introductory level course, but maybe you just want to make sure that students are going to have one computer science course, one opportunity to take that. How can they be exposed to as much variety in CS as possible? Or maybe you need something more advanced. Maybe that difficulty level needs to be ramped up just a little bit for your course. And you're looking for something that goes a little further than Intro to CS and JavaScript or Python. Or maybe your students are getting past that APCSA point and they need something different. Some other course considerations that we really need to think about as well. How much time do you have? Are you going to have just a semester for your course? Maybe you are one of the lucky teachers who gets a full year to teach computer science. Maybe you only have a quarter. If you're middle school, you might just have a quarter. Maybe you're a different content area teacher and you're thinking, how can I just introduce computer science to my students? And you might need some units. So really think about how much time do you have available? And do you want a full coding course or do you want some non-coding in that course? Also, another consideration is, do you want blocks or do you want text coding? That's definitely something to think about as well. Again, that difficulty level. Are your students beginners or do they have some experience with coding? I know sometimes in one class alone, I might have students that have absolutely no experience and students that are coming in where they might have done some coding on their own. And so I might have that just in one course alone. And standards. What are some of the standards that you might need to address? I know some computer science teachers are definitely in a position where they have a lot of free reign. They're an elective course. There's really no standards, specified standards in their state. And they have a lot of ability to just choose the course they want to teach or the courses that their students want them to teach. But some of us have a few more constraints with standards that might be in place. So these are all things we need to think about. And it will definitely benefit you to sit down and think about these considerations and the goals that you have in mind for your course. Sometimes when we might feel like we have a good handle on what we need, but when we sit down and think about this and really start mapping out, what am I looking for? We might come up with some other goals that we really need to meet. So let's take a look at some of our course overviews. Now, if you've come to some of our sessions before, you might have definitely seen where we talk about a few courses, but we want to look at these in a little different way. And so we're going to be grouping by some different categories here. So first of all, if you're just looking for a way to get your students exposed to a variety of computer science concepts, one of the best courses for this is the Computing Ideas course. This actually is a course that I've taught with. It's one of my favorite courses because of the variety of topics that you can get here. And this is an ideal course for middle school students as well as up into 9th grade. This is going to include some units like the Intro to Programming with Carol the dog. If you have not tried any of the Carol courses, this is one of the best ways to introduce coding to your students. This is absolutely the first course I've ever taught with CodeHS when I was in the classroom. And this is what hooked my kids, was Carol the dog. So it's a great way to start this Computing Ideas course. And then you have a variety of other type of units here, like what is computing, which is really going to get into more of the hardware side. And what is a computer? You know, what is the essence of a computer? Then you step back away from that to get into some web design. And some students who may not have found their interest in either that traditional programming or that Carol the dog programming or the hardware side of computing might feel like, oh, web design, that's a really cool creative outlet for me. Digital information is another really awesome unit here. This is one of my favorite units in all of our courses. love the digital information unit. And I think this is a phenomenal way to explore the idea about how data is represented, but students can be so creative in their outlet for this. So if you have not checked out digital information, you can see it in the Computing Ideas course. You can also see it in numerous other courses throughout the CodeHS platform as well. There's also an internet module, and of course, digital citizenship and cyber hygiene, which I think Leah and I have talked on numerous occasions about how we feel like every class should have digital citizenship and cyber hygiene embedded somewhere. So Computing Ideas is an awesome course to give students a really broad variety of topics. One of the ways that I've also used this, if you have done anything with, say, exploring computer science curriculum, or some of those other curriculums like that for exploratory computer science courses, this can be a really well-aligned course to help provide that information. It's a great way to have kids explore web design and really get into programming. And let's see, I'm going to try to keep watching for questions as I go. So in case I don't see them, Leah, just cut me off and make sure I get those questions answered. Awesome. All right, so the next set of courses I want to look at aligns with another one of those goals we're thinking about is this a introductory course? So we have a lot of different courses that you can specifically focus on if you want to introduce students to computer science or programming in general. And so 3 of those courses are listed here in this slide. We have Intro to Computer Science and JavaScript. And this is our Carol the Dog course. This is our flagship course. This is the very first one I ever tried with students. I happened to try it with seniors one year, and I was hooked and they were hooked. So awesome course. It's a year-long course and has about 125 contact hours worth of material in it. And you can absolutely see the course overview and syllabus. And I'll show you how to get to that from the course catalog. It'll also be linked in the slides. And I think Leah tossed those slides links, that slide link out into the chat. So if you'd like to check out the slides, you sure can. But you can definitely teach JavaScript, get students into coding with JavaScript in this intro course. They don't need any prior experience, no prerequisites to get into this course. Perfect for students who have no experience here. You can also go into computer science and Python 3. That actually turned into one of my favorite courses. And it was solely because of CodeHS that Python 3 became one of my favorite coding languages. And so Intro to Computer Science and JS or Python 3, great introductions for students who have no prior experience to coding. So awesome ways to get kids hooked. Where JavaScript is really going to focus on that Carol the Dog idea. Python 3 is going to have a little different angle with that. And really, it's just going to be what you might be more comfortable with. And if you don't know JavaScript or Python 3, it's totally okay. I was exactly in that position when I started teaching with these. And this was how I learned both of these languages, was by teaching them. Now, we also have an Intro to Java course. And this course is designed to be a year long. And while it is an introductory course, one thing to keep in mind is that Java can be a tougher entry point for students sometimes. It is definitely, that object-oriented focus. And while it's certainly geared to be an introductory course for students who don't have any prior knowledge of programming, it can sometimes be a little bit tougher. So this might be a really excellent course that might be geared toward students who are looking toward an AP, more of that AP path, and may want to take AP CSA at some point. But otherwise, just know that one might be a little bit tougher. I will say I do love Java too. That has actually become one of my favorite programming languages now. So I'm a little bit partial to that one as well. I don't know if there's any that I would say I'm not a fan of anymore. So we have several options for APCS principles, and I'm very excited about talking about this because we have some really, really cool additions this year. So in case you haven't seen this and you're an APCSP teacher, check this out. So of course, we still have APCS principles in JavaScript. And that is our year-long course, about 125 contact hours, but it focuses on the JavaScript language. Now we also have the Python version. So we have APCSP in Python. Those two courses mirror each other, except one, of course, has a Python focus and one is JavaScript. So you have those two options, but then we have a third option. We actually have APCS principles with a additional cybersecurity focus. Now, this is still an APCS principles course, and this course has JavaScript as the background language. However, in addition to all of the CSP content, there are additional cybersecurity lessons added in. The cybersecurity lessons, we actually partnered with Insight to bring you all of these additional lessons and just some really cool options here. I was an APCSP teacher, and one of the most engaging parts of that course for my students was when we explored cybersecurity topics. If I would have had the option to grab this APCS principles with additional cybersecurity material, I absolutely would have. This can provide another level of engagement for your students that might really drive some toward that cybersecurity occupation, or toward that angle once they get to college. So again, the APCS principle with cybersecurity course has JavaScript as the background language. You can also grab those cybersecurity lessons, and we actually will show you how to map them to the Python course as well. There is also an additional review course for APCS principles. So I wanted to mention that here as well. This can be a little bit confusing for teachers who might just get started with APCSP. If you're just getting started, keep in mind that the review course is just additional content that will help you and help your students review for the APCSP test. What you'd actually want to choose is one of these options. All of these courses mirror each other. The content is the same. They are all endorsed by the College Board, so you can use any of these for APCSP. It's really just a matter of that difference in programming language. So we move from APCSP to APCSA. And here is where, for our CSA teachers, we have a couple of options here as well. So the two different flavors of APCSA that we have are APCSA in Nitro and then APCSA in Mocha. So the difference between these two is that the Nitro course is actually the one that is following that framework laid out by the College Board. And so whatever those units that you see in the College Board are going to be mirrored in the Nitro course. So it's going to start with those primitive types, objects and classes, or using objects, I think is that second one, Boolean expressions, iteration, writing classes, all of those. So it's going to mirror that planning and pacing, the framework from the College Board. APCSA in Mocha was really our first iteration of an APCSA course. And the difference between those two is that Mocha is going to introduce objects and classes much later in the course than what we do in Nitro or what the College Board recommends. And there's also some differences in that Mocha does not use the main method, it uses the run console version of Java. And it also has some differences in user input. That being said, both courses, either course could be used for your APCSA course. Nitro is the one though that follows the College Board. So that's more than likely the one that we would recommend in terms of what you would choose. But Mocha is awesome and actually has some great resources that you might pull in for scaffolding. There's also a couple of other courses for CSA, including APCSA labs. So for all those labs that you need for APCSA, you can go out and grab those and actually add those to your APCSA course. And there's also a review APCSA course as well. Then we have, maybe you want to focus just on web design. So I've grouped a few of our web design courses here. And this is one where it can get a little bit confusing because we start to see these different names included with our web design courses. You'll see here that we have 3 web design. One is called Picasso, one is Matisse, and one is Monet. So we see these different flavors of web design. And what that's indicating is just some different units that are included in each of these. The Matisse web design course is really going to be geared toward middle school students. And then we have some other courses as well, like Web Design Monet, which is actually 80 contact hours, and Web Design Picasso, which is 140 contact hours. And we can take a look at some of those differences in those courses. But these are some great ways to introduce your students to web design. Your students do not need to have a prerequisite in order to take these courses. And these are some of your options here. Some of the other courses that you'll see some web design added into are down here at the bottom next to the pink light bulb. Computing Ideas, the one we just looked at the beginning, does have a web design unit included there as well. You also have Creative Computing, and that has another web design unit there. Tech Apps and Coding, and Web Development is a more recent course that we have included as well. And so all of those are going to be great ways to get your students into web design, or some additional more advanced web design courses. If you're looking at web development, you may want to have your students go through some of the web design courses first, but these are going to be awesome courses for your students. And these are the ones you'll want to focus on if you're going the HTML route. For cybersecurity, we also have some phenomenal options here. We released both the Fundamentals of Cybersecurity and Advanced Cybersecurity. Was that just a year ago? That was longer than a year ago, wasn't it now? Something like that. They still feel kind of newish to me. So if you haven't checked them out, definitely take some time to take a look at those. Fundamentals of Security is where you'd want your students to start. And so if you're just getting started with this, you'll want to take a look at the Fundamentals of Cybersecurity course. This one is going to be a year long, about 125 contact hours. Awesome units in this that are going to range from digital citizenship, what is cybersecurity, and then getting into some of those, system administration and security tasks on that end as well. Advanced cybersecurity is actually going to be your next level. So you're leveling up for Fundamentals of Cybersecurity. It is another year-long class, so about 125 contact hours, and it's going to take your students to the next level. And by the way, Leah is tossing a ton of really awesome links into chat, and we are going to take a look at some of those and when we get into the course catalog. Now, I mentioned when we were talking about APCSP that we actually partnered with Insight to build some of those APCSP courses that included some concept lessons. Well, we've got the links for those here. You can access just those concept lessons that we built and partnered with Insight, and you can access those here. There's about 40 hours worth of lessons, 35, 40 hours worth of lessons, and we have them for both JavaScript and Python. So I did want to mention that here too. So in case you want to check those out, you certainly can. And we have some physical computing courses. I know one of my very favorite things to teach was robotics and physical computing. I was very into Arduino, and I was actually quite into microbit as well. I took microbit down into the elementary, used it with some middle school, and I actually got a lot of middle school kids hooked on Arduino pretty early. So we have some courses that you can check out. We have both Intro to Physical Computing with microbit and Physical Computing with Arduino. And you'll see that both of these are a quarter long, so it's about 50 contact hours. These are actually awesome courses to build into other courses as well. And if you take a look at both of these, you see with Intro to Physical Computing with microbit that we do have a Carol and a Tracy course. Physical Computing with Arduino, same thing. So you've definitely got some options here. So we have a ton of interdisciplinary courses as well. So if you are another content teacher, maybe you teach, or another content area teacher, maybe you teach math, maybe you teach music. I know in my case, I was a former English teacher, what feels like a lifetime ago. And I'm always getting asked by other teachers, how can I get kids interested in coding? How can I bring some of that into my class? these are some of the courses you can take a look at. So Coding Explorations is a course that is actually going to be including things like music, art, and sports all in one course. Then you've got the specific courses here, like Coding Exploration in Sports. You've got one that focuses on art, one that focuses on music, and our two newest, these were just released this summer, Coding Explorations in Math and one for Science. So if you're looking for a way to help other teachers maybe introduce coding in their own courses, take a look at some of these. These are some great options to do that, and some really short, quick ways to do that as well. If you're looking at even shorter ways to incorporate code, or maybe you just need a different activity for your own class, be sure to check out the Hour of Code activities. These are going to be some really awesome, fast activities that you can pull into a course, even into one of your computer science courses, and let students try some other activities here. You'll see we have a lot of Hour of Code activities listed here. Tons of things that focus specifically on sports or music or math or data visualizations or art, just a ton of really awesome activities. You can absolutely add each of these Hour of Code activities into your existing CodeHS course, or you can help other teachers get started with it too. All right, so I wanted to just run past the new things quickly because I know we have teachers who have taught with us for a while and are looking for things that might have a little bit more complexity or levels of difficulty with them. So new for this year, and these are all officially released at this point, so you can create new courses with them. Awesome. And Nancy just said, I like AI. Woohoo! I'm so excited about these courses. Nancy, I'm thrilled to hear you like that one. That's awesome. So we do have Intro to Artificial Intelligence. We've had a lot of interest in this one. Tons of interest. It's a semester-long course, 75 contact hours. You might want to have your students have a little bit of an intro to programming here. Intro to Python would be ideal. But again, this is a great course to check out if you want your students to get exposed to AI. One of my personal favorites is game design in Unity. And we do have semester one released right now. This is going to be a year-long course. We will be releasing semester two this fall. So you'll have everything available to you. Game design in Unity is going to be a little bit of a special course because you do need the Unity engine to work through this course. If you are a Chromebook school, that might be a limiting factor. So you may want to talk to your administration or IT and see if you can get some machines that will run Unity. But awesome course. So if you are into game design, which I was so into game design when I still am. When I was in the classroom, this is one of my favorite things, and kids always wanted to do game design. We have it now. So definitely you can enroll in that, and absolutely look for semester two to come out very soon. We also have a data science course, and that is a semester-long course, 85 contact hours. This one, again, it would be ideal if students could have some programming knowledge, preferably some Python. We also have data structures in C++. This one also makes me very excited. I was constantly looking for ways to teach my kids C++, and we are developing more and more of those courses now. I would definitely take a look at this. Students will want some previous experience with CS. A great way to use this course might be to have this fall at the end of your APCSA course, or as a follow-up to your APCSA course if you've got students who need something beyond that. We also have a couple of IB courses now. We have IB Computer Science Standard Level and IB Computer Science Higher Level. And so if you are an IB school, definitely take a look at these. We'd love to know what you think. We are going to be releasing year two for this as well. And there's those interdisciplinary courses that I also included here too. These are the new ones for this year. All right, so that was still a lot of courses to go through, but I hope that gave you a different way to look at those courses. So often we just get into the catalog and we think, oh, there's just a lot here. How do I think about those? Think about those in terms of topics. Do you want to focus on web design? Do you want to focus on an introduction to programming? thinking about them that way can definitely help. And you'll definitely have the slides to go back to. Now, another way we can think about courses is in terms of pathways. So we do have a couple of recommended pathways that you can think about. We put together this sample CodeHS 6 through 12 pathway. And I know oftentimes if we're in the high school, we may not have an opportunity to get into the middle school to talk about pathways, but this is definitely something to think about. You know, how is your middle school using this? How is your high school using it if you're coming from the middle school or even coming from the elementary? So that way you can work together and really think about, what does this pathway look like? What do we want our students to come away from school with? And so we've put together a sample pathway here that you can take a look at. We've included some of our very, very introductory courses like Intro to Python with Tracy or Intro to the Internet in our middle school, areas, and showed how you can use courses like Computing Ideas, that really great broad exposure course to computer science topics. You can actually use that from 7th through 9th grade, depending on where you need it, all the way up into all those AP courses in the high school levels. Now, this is just a sample pathway. You can certainly think about other ways that you can approach your pathway. And the one thing I really want to stress here is that the courses that we're looking at are very interchangeable. You do not have to necessarily follow what we're doing, but we wanted to give you some thoughts on ways that you could combine courses. So this is a sample middle school full year pathway. You can certainly start with year 1 here over on the left with Computing Ideas. This is a great way to get kids into the ideas behind computer science and let them really experience all those different topics. Then you can always take them into an introductory course, introductory programming, like maybe Intro to Tracy or Intro to JS with Carol. So any of those would be a great introduction into programming. I love bringing in physical computing at this level, especially with microbit, because that makes things so much more tangible for those middle school kids. You can also take a look at some of the supplemental materials that are out there as well. We have a lot of other supplemental units that you can add into these courses. So really great way to add additional content there. Then if you have another year with your middle school kids, a web design course is a great option as well, because now students are really going to get a full broad perspective of things they can do with computer science. So really awesome tool. Now, another option might be to start with Computing Ideas again, but rather than going the programming route, you can always start with web design. Oftentimes, I've always found that middle school kids I've worked with really take to web design because they can be so creative with it. And so that's always a really great second option. So after you run year 1 with Computing Ideas, web design is another great path to take. If you have that 3rd year, bringing in some fundamentals of cybersecurity or an introductory course is another great path to go for middle school. So one more option for middle school is if you're thinking about semester courses, because oftentimes middle school can be really tough schedule-wise to get a full year of computer science. So you could start with something like World of Computing or Intro to the Internet. This is another great way to actually start kids off with some experience to computer science. And so starting with either of these courses for your semester course could be a great option. You could also flip-flop those if you'd like, or if you have a second semester, you can always go from World of Computing to Intro to Internet or vice versa. And if you have a little bit more time with your students, you could always combine some of these quarter-long courses as well. You can certainly do something like what is cybersecurity and digital citizenship. Maybe you want to do coding explorations in microbit. You can absolutely pick and choose and combine in whatever way you want. And that's one thing we really want you to take away from this is we are not laying out a prescription for a pathway. We want to show you some suggestions if you feel like you need some guidance, but we want you to know that you can absolutely pick and choose and arrange these how you'd like. And one more for middle school, if you want to do a programming angle, You can absolutely start with creative computing, add in some microbit or Carol, and then go into some of these other courses that you might want to provide more coding experience with. For high school pathways, we've got a lot of options for this. One of the ways we like to start is with that computing ideas course. And I will say that truly is one of my favorite courses. This is what I typically started with my freshmen, was computing ideas. And then when you're building out this pathway for your second year, you could look at an introductory class like JavaScript or Python or Java if you want. I very often went into a Python course. You also have this AP-CSP course. I love hearing about how people teach and use AP computer science principles. Oftentimes, we even hear about teachers using this course as that introductory level course. I know one of the suggested prerequisites for AP-CSP is to have an algebra background. I will say I've had students with a very, very poor algebra background, and they excelled in this course. So AP-CSP can definitely be geared toward beginning students, and they can absolutely find success in this course. That third year would definitely be something like an AP-CSA. AP-CSA would not be a beginner level course. You definitely want to have that after students have had some experience, but that can be certainly in your pathway, or you can add things like cybersecurity or web design. And they are all interchangeable again, except for AP-CSA. That would be the one I would say leave that closer towards the end of their pathway. It's going to be a little bit more complex. You could also make more of a cybersecurity pathway. I know many states are using this. I know North Dakota has very much a cybersecurity pathway in their schools, and other states are following suit with this. And so starting with computing ideas will give students a good base of understanding with computer science, and then going through fundamentals and advanced cybersecurity are some great options here. So some other ideas for programming focus is to start with an introductory JavaScript or Python course, or maybe you want to go with web design. This is a great place if you've got a little bit of room to play. You could actually offer both of those if you have the room in your schedule too. So you can certainly then lead students into an AP path. So you could go with AP-CSP into AP-CSA. You could also still have that cybersecurity focus with fundamentals and advanced, or you can keep them focused more on a web design path with intro to JS and the web, and then going into web development and mobile apps. Mobile apps is another really great course that would benefit from having that web design background. So and again, before we cruise through state pathways, what I just want to mention again, we want to give you some suggestions and maybe some guidance on ways to think about the courses, but always keep in mind that these are interchangeable. You can move things around. And of course, it's going to make more sense to keep advanced cybersecurity after fundamentals and keep AP-CSA at the end, but you've certainly got a lot of leeway to really use the courses as they work for your students. So for state pathways, we have a lot of really good information about what's happening in your states. You can actually visit this site, codehs.com/info/states, to get some information about different states. And I'll just browse out here. You're going to see that we have this map. You can certainly click on that to find out information, or you can find out more information by browsing this list of states. And I was going to click on Florida. And we'll choose that state, and you can see the Computer Science Education Guide. So if you haven't taken some time to come out here and take a look at this, you definitely can. You see a lot of information here, and you'll see the specific pathways that we might have suggested for your states as well. We also have numerous states where we've actually built out custom courses specifically for your standards. So you can certainly take a look at that here too. You can also visit the state's standards framework. And I'll go ahead and drop that link into chat. I have that right here, so I can grab that quick. And this is an awesome way to actually see how our courses stack up against the standards in your state. So I'm going to go ahead and find Indiana Computer Science 3 Cybersecurity. And when I click on that, I can see all of the standards in this framework, and I can choose the course I want to map to. Now, in this case, I know we have a CS3 cybersecurity course for Indiana. If I click that, it's going to think, and there we go. And now I can see how this course maps up to the Indiana standards for this course. And you'll see that it's actually 100% mapped. And so you can definitely play around with that framework to take a look at how do those standards match up to what you have in your state. Awesome tool to take a look at. Definitely helps if you do have standards. So like I mentioned, we do have those custom state courses available, and we are always looking at adding more. So definitely take a look. You might have a course out there for your state already. And I'll show you how to find that in the course catalog. I know we're coming up to time, so I'm going to go through this super fast. So to get to our course catalog, you're going to go to codehs.com/course/catalog. Too many slashes. There we go. And this is how you can actually browse all of the courses. Now, I'm sure you've seen this. I've recognized your names. I know you've been out to the catalog, but hopefully I've given you a few tools to think about these courses in a little different way. So first, when you come to the catalog, rather than just searching through this, make sure that you're using the filters that we have built in for you here. You can certainly search by popular courses. You can search by middle or high school. You can also search by state courses here as well. If you are looking just for JavaScript, you can search by JavaScript courses. You can search by Java. There's that Intro to Java Latte course. You can search by Python. You can also search all of the AP courses, and you'll see all of those different options that you have. There's that AP CSP with cybersecurity. You can search courses that have block coding, all of the interdisciplinary courses that might be in Spanish, and all of your hour of code courses as well. State courses are also listed here. So if you click on state, you can see all of the state courses that are available. And as I scroll through this list, what you're going to see is that we have a lot of custom state courses. So take some time to go through this and see if you might have a course. If you feel like there's something that we could add, you can always reach out to us and make a suggestion too. We can always listen to that. So lots of state courses there. And some coming soon, and new courses. So you can see all those new courses that we talked about. You can always search for any courses here as well. Now, what's great here is you can definitely view the units that are going to be included in that course. You can view the syllabi for any of the courses. You can also enroll yourself in a course if you just want to experience from the student side. I will say this is how I've learned many coding languages, is by enrolling myself in CodeHS courses. You can also assign these if you already have a course created. So you can do that all from the course catalog. Okay, that was a ton of information, and I am right at time. I think, people were thinking I might finish early, but if you've been to my sessions before, Lori talks. So we are at time. So thank you so much for joining us. We have a few more resources for you. If you have not looked at the CodeHS Certified Educator Program, I would highly recommend take a look at the information that we have for that program. I was a certified educator before I got to work for CodeHS. Definitely take a look. If you are not a member of the CodeHS Educators Facebook group, absolutely check that one out. That's a super active group with a lot of networking. Love that group. So we'd love to have you there. Definitely follow us on social media. And if you want to check out more of these workshops or teacher trainer workshops, you can head out to codehs.com/freepd. And we have a couple more upcoming workshops very soon. So make sure to take a look at planning for a successful year with CodeHS Pro. You want a little more information about that debugger? We've got another workshop coming up for that too, using the CodeHS step-by-step debugger on September 8th. You can sign up for all of these by browsing to codehs.com/freepd. I would say, even if you're not sure if your schedule will accommodate, go ahead and register for it. We will send out follow-up emails with recordings. You can see how many we have out here. So definitely take a look. We have one tomorrow, so make sure if you want to join this one, it's never too late to register. So go ahead and sign up tonight. And yeah, there we go. And thank you, Nancy. Appreciate that. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. And we appreciate your time. If you have questions at all, don't ever hesitate to reach out to us. Our favorite thing is working with teachers. So thank you so much for coming. And we will see you at the next webinar.